Welcome to the Crimson Tide Connection, your source for Alabama sports. With me today is the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide rowing team, Larry Davis. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Good. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Coach.
Good.
Thank you. Coach, your team is made up of over half of freshmen and sophomores. How have they progressed through the first part of the fall season?
In general, we've been on track to what we planned to do and some of the goals we had set. There's a few misses here and there, but some of that's just a developmental thing, and we're moving along in the right area. I think overall we've had some success that we wanted to have because the girls are adapting to some things we want them to achieve, so that as we move into our main spring racing season, those things will be sort of solid tools in our toolbox, and we're ready to go use them properly.
Coach, you opened up the fall season with a strong showing at the Chattanooga head race. Talk about how the team responded to that first time.
One of the things that I think that was really exciting about that, so the first time we've had 4 varsity 8s to be able to get involved in any regatta. And of those 4, 3 of them medaled, the first, second, and third place. So anytime you can do that, that's something that we've been working for, and we're really pleased to see the depth is starting to come through. It's not just having one good crew, but we're starting to have some consistency throughout our lineup. So especially when you look at, it's mainly sophomores and juniors, that bodes well. Maybe not as quite far as we might want to get this year, but especially looking in towards next year. We don't want to look too far down the road, but we're pretty pleased with how the team responded to that, and it's exciting to see that kind of development.
Well, Coach, with a top half finish from your varsity 8 at the head of the Charles, you earned an automatic invitation to next year's event, which is a plus, but you still didn't have quite the showing you were hoping for. What did your rowers learn from that experience?
Well, we sat down after we got done with that, with the first race, and we sort of analyzed, what did we do well and what did we really need to, do better at. And one of the things we didn't do that we didn't want to have happen was we let another crew dictate our speed. At the Charles, it's one of those races sort of like Le Mans. You've got a lot of turns and stuff like that. And there's places you can be wide on a turn. There's places where you can get blocked. And unfortunately, we let ourselves get blocked and let another crew sort of dictate what we could do going down the course. And I took some times over the course and saw what was going on. I thought I saw at least 10 seconds that we lost just because we were in a bad position. And then based on sort of evaluating what we did throughout the race, there's other things that we did that we slowed down to be able to accommodate this other crew going through bridges. And we lost speed in that area. And then the thing is, there's people behind us that they're hauling freight going through the race course. And so we wound up limiting our speed and as well as being out of position. And those things added up to a rough guess in my part was somewhere between 10 and 20 seconds we lost, not because we weren't rowing well, but we didn't do some of the tactical things you need to do well on a race course. And that's one thing about head racing, the long distances of going over a windy course. It's not just how well you row and how fast you are as a crew. You have to make sure you place yourself well in turns. You need to get into position to take bridges and turns properly. And those things all can either take time off your time or add to them. And those are the things that we didn't do well. And some of that comes from the first time we'd really gone down the course with that group of athletes. None of those girls had been to the head of the Charles last year. And so there's a bit of, I guess, an intimidation and unfamiliarity factor that gets put in there. And although we discussed what we wanted to do, we didn't quite get it done.
Well, Coach, your next event is the head of the Hooch. What do you hope to see from your team as they prepare for the head of the Hooch on November the 2nd and the 3rd?
Well, we still haven't, because of some of the rules of the head of the Charles, we still haven't put together a first boat yet. We've been sort of keeping average speeds boat, not that any of them are slow, but we haven't gone for what's our A boat, what's our best boat, what's our B boat. So in the next 2 weeks, we're putting together the lineups, hopefully putting together the lineups. That'll be, our first boat, which is going to have the best speed, our next boat that's going to have the best speed, and we're also putting together a couple other boats, our 4s and whatnot, so that we're starting to look at what kind of speed can we get in relation to the NCAA type events. And there's going to be a lot of good NCAA Division I teams that are going to be at the head of the Hooch. And so we want to see with our lineups, are we getting the right thing from them and being able to perform at a level that's going to keep us in the hunt come springtime. And there'll be a lot of those teams that we're going to race against, some of them conference teams that'll be at the head of the Hooch. So we're looking forward to seeing how those lineups are going to sort of evolve, and then certainly see how we do against the teams that we're going to compete against.
Well, Coach, after a couple of events, where is this team right now, and where do you hope they are by the end of the fall?
Well, if you look at the whole year, I would say as being 100, we're probably somewhere right now around 40 or 45. We've done some things that we want to do, but some of those, they're about on track where we need to be. We're maybe about 5% behind where I'd like to be, but that's something we can easily make up in a span of even 2 weeks when we're going into the head of the Hooch. And then the next step we make, there's sort of plan A, B, and C after we see how we perform at the head of the hooch as to where do we go to start making progress towards that, what we want to have 100% when we get into the thick of our racing season come springtime. So we're not quite halfway as far as some of the things we want to develop, but a lot of the girls that we wanted to have step up are stepped up. Even though they're young, they're starting to make really good progress on some of the skills that we want to see and some of that composure we need to race well in a sprint race.
Well, Coach, good luck on November the 2nd and 3rd at the head of the hooch. For head coach Larry Davis, I'm Christopher England, and that's it for this edition of the Crimson Tide Connection.